Welcome back, fellow cardboarders, and a warm welcome to all the new subscribers on our way towards the 500 subscriber goal. Now, it's been about a month since our last community vote, and I figured I'd end it here. So the winner for this month's community vote is the 6 random companions. 25 of you left their votes on this poll. Thank you to everyone who voted. And to everyone who's new, every couple of weeks I am putting up a poll for you to vote on with some unique EDH deck building ideas, and you choose which one I am building next. So keep an eye out for the next one in the community tab. But now on to the deck idea itself. The deck, as the thumbnail and title already teased, is about having 6 companions available and building a modular deck, meaning a deck that can be played differently every time you sit down at the table with your friends. When you pull up the Scryfall page and put in companion from the set Ikoria, you see there are 10 of them, and one of them is sadly banned. So sorry for all the Otter fans here. And the question for going about this deck was which companions could be included in the same deck. So the premise of the deck was including as many companions as possible and seeing which commander could be put into the driver's seat. Yorion already falls out of the list of possible companions since you cannot build your deck with 120 cards in commander. Then we would have to choose if we build the deck with Garuda or Obosh, and I settled for Obosh since the double damage is a route that this deck can go and actually win the game with, while reanimating a creature once when Garuda enters the battlefield is just not as impactful. Lastly, Lurrus has been removed from the possible companions just because there are not enough commanders that could host Lurrus, and when you look at the rest of the remaining companions, we are building a 5-color deck. And choosing Lurrus as your companion would mean that you have to play a commander with mana value 2 or less and a commander color identity of all 5 colors if we want to include as many companions as possible. So the remaining 6 we could build together, but putting Lurrus in as a 7th possible companion was just impossible. You would have to play Jensen Cathalion, which is a possible commander, but then Kahira and Obosh, as well as Karuga, would be eliminated. And then as of November 2023, there's simply no commander that costs exactly 1 mana, has the identity of all 5 colors, that can host all of the remaining 6 companions. So 4 of the 6 companions are eliminated, and we are left with these 6 here, and this is what we're gonna build the deck around. The deck is inspired by Darren Habib on MTG Nexus, who made an entire post about his deck idea, but it's been 3 years and several new cards have been invented, and also some of the creatures from older sets were not included. I guess they had their reasons, but I think there are some interesting creatures that are older that I wanted to include into my deck list. By the way, there is a wonderful feature on Scryfall when you look up a certain companion, which is on the right hand side, related searches, and allows you to search for the companion's restrictions. And what I did was taking all these 6 related searches for all these 6 companions and put them all into one big search string. And it came back with 105 possible creatures that could be included in the deck. I'm gonna leave a link to the entire search string in the comments below if you want to check it out yourself. And as you can see, there are a couple of legendary creatures here, but the only 5-color creature we can build around is the Horde of Notions. So this will be our commander, and then we're gonna include the best cats, elemental, nightmares, dinosaurs, and beasts into the deck. And this is also how I went about and sorted the deck list itself. So at the beginning of your game, you choose one random companion or a companion of your opponent's choice, or you choose one however you want to go about this. And this companion kind of chooses how the deck is played. And since we put all 6 third strings into one Scryfall prompt, all of the restrictions for all the cards in the deck are met at all times, and you have 6 different decks to play around with and to explore and find nice and unique and fun combos to beat the living hell out of your opponents. Now let's look at our first category, which is beasts. We got the Brush Hopper here, a wonderful blocker who deals double the damage with Obosh and gets +1/+1 and Vigilance with Kahira. We are playing several cycling beasts like the Barkhide Mauler, the Houndroog, the Macetail Histrodon, the Primarch Escapee, as well as the Krosan War Chief to reduce the mana we spend on beast spells and to be able to generally regenerate beasts. There are several beasts that also regenerate themselves, like the Tangle Hulk. The Plow Beast also allows to just generally regenerate any creature with power 5 or greater. And we got the unique creature Zaldevi Steam Beast, who gives an opponent 2 life points when it gets tapped and can regenerate itself. We're also playing some big beaters like the Bonded Herd Beast, who's a 7/5 menace on the backside. The Slaughterhorn can surprise your opponent by giving them a kind of giant growth effect. We're also playing a Spiritmonger, a creature my uncle teased me with as a child. I could never defeat this creature, and it's just a wonderful addition in this deck. 2 of them, Leyline Prowler and Lullmage's Familia, function as expensive mana dorks, while Charforger gives us some slow impulse draw. We're also playing draft creatures. One of them is the Helium Squirter, and another one is in the elemental category. Kelpie Guide.
Kelpie Guy!
To tap or untap creatures. For example, being able to untap Yagantha again would net us 10 mana, which is amazing, obviously, while the Mischievous Quanar here allows us to copy some instants or sorceries our opponents play. Migloss here mainly functions for removal, but can also pump itself to deal more damage, especially with Obosh on the battlefield. Perennial Behemoth enables us to play lands from the graveyard. We're playing several cycling lands, and this is where this comes in handy. Some weird Legends creatures, the Spinal Villain, which allows us to destroy any blue creature whenever we tap it, and with Kelpie Guide we can destroy actually 2 blue creatures. And remember, any multicolored creature that also has blue in it we can also destroy, so we can also destroy commanders that have blue in them. And then lastly, the Venom Spout Brachus allows us for 2 mana to deal 5 damage to any attacking or blocking creature with flying. That is quite fringe, though with Obosh on the battlefield we can actually deal 10 damage, so this beast is also not to be underestimated. Moving into the second most common creature type, the elementals. We're playing several Lorwyn elementals here. Got the Cinder Pyromancer to deal 1 damage to any player, and we untap it whenever we cast a red spell, quite useful. Incandescent Soulstoke boosts all our elementals and can cheat any elemental onto the battlefield for just 2 mana. At the end of the turn we have to sacrifice it. Obviously it gains haste and synergizes well with the Charforger. By the way, Charforger and a couple of other creatures in this deck spit out 1/1 tokens, and these have mana value of 0. Therefore, these creatures are not doubled when dealing damage with Obosh on the battlefield. But still, we have a nice blocker and possibly attacker if we want to do that. The Inner Flame Igniter, for example, is one that synergizes well with the tokens, being able to boost them multiple times for just 1 red mana with Zirda as our companion on the battlefield, and giving them all first strike when we activate him 3 times is a nice bonus. The Pathblazer is a possible win con in this deck if we have enough elementals on the battlefield and someone just lets us through with our attack. Especially with Obosh on the battlefield, we are able to deal massive amounts of damage. Catalyst Elemental and Grinning Ignis allow us to ramp a little ahead since we are barely playing any ramp in this deck, since we cannot play any mana rocks. With Umori, we are tied to playing creatures. Cinderbones just for a general regenerate creature who can attack or block and stay on the battlefield. Cinder Haze to reduce our opponent's cards in hand. Coldborn Entity with Zirda on the battlefield allows us to deal 1 damage to creature tokens, players, or planeswalkers for just 1 red, while the Crater Elemental is another one when it reaches Formidable that can deal a ton of damage. Citospawn Shambler is the second graft creature we are playing here. Enabling trample for creatures with +1/+1 counters is a really nice addition. The Hydromorph Guardian can protect one of our creatures, can be our commander, can be another important piece on the board, while the Step Glider, similar to the graft cards, can give flying and vigilance to any +1/+1 counter creature. Tideforce Elemental is a similar inclusion to the Kelpie Guide and can untap up to twice or tap a creature on the battlefield. Windreaver just for the versatility of its effects, and Time Elemental to remove singular creatures. Remember, we're not attacking or blocking, otherwise it would deal 5 damage to us and we have to sacrifice it. Lastly, in the Elementals category, we're playing Torrent Elemental as kind of a board wipe kind of thing, and then we move into the Cats creatures. Similar to the Windreaver, Armored Guardian is a cat and allows us versatility, protecting our creatures but also protecting itself for just 2 mana when Zirda is out. Displacer Beast can return itself and we can start delving into the dungeon, which I find quite unique and fun to do in such a unique deck. Then we're playing 2 creatures that enable us to create tokens, like the Envoy here and Prava, who both with Zirda out have their costs of their activated abilities reduced, while Pride Sovereign also spits out cats and grows bigger throughout the game. Ingenious Leonin synergizes well with the graft creatures and creatures that look at +1/+1 counters, so we included that. The Invoker can be used for a final blow, giving all creatures +2/+0 and menace, while the Noble Tiger is a solid inclusion that can give itself first strike. 2 more cats before we move into the next category. Rundi here is another mana dork that also gives +1/+1 counters and might give haste, though I think this will happen quite rarely, while the Stalken Leonin is another useful removal card to exile a creature that is attacking us if we chose the correct opponent beforehand. We're playing 3 dinosaurs. All of them are really good. Akim can also win us the game with Double Strike and creating 1/1 bird tokens whenever we create a token for the first time, so this one also synergizes well with the other token creators we saw earlier. A very new dinosaur from the most recent Ixalan set is the Grim Gigantosaurus, who can make itself monstrous, and being able to one-hit a player with Obosh on the battlefield. And it can also destroy all artifacts and creatures other than itself, so play Obosh afterwards, obviously, and is our, I think, 3rd board wipe, if I counted correctly. Zakama can be a very solid removal. With Zirda on the battlefield, just paying 1 of the colored pips to do any of the effects is wonderful. And if Zakama stays around long enough, it can kill players for red mana. We are playing 1 Nightmare creature, which is the Gibbering Barricade, for just 3 mana, or 1. If we have Zirda out, we can sacrifice a creature, in the best case a token, and gain a life and draw a card, which is one of our main draw engines here, besides playing Karuga, obviously. Playing 3 Changelings, one of them is a staple win con, which is the Mirror Entity, turning our creatures into XX creatures with all creature types and then going for the kill, while Mistwalker is just here for beating up our opponents, and the Moonglove Changeling makes a solid blocker with being able to give itself Death Touch. The mana base also holds some surprises. I already established that we're playing cycling lands, which means we're playing the whole cycle of Triomes, fixing our colors, whatever we need. They do enter the battlefield tapped, but then again, this deck is not very competitive. Therefore, I thought, why not include a whole bunch of tapped lands? This will not break our back, we're just one turn slower than anyone else. And we're able to cycle our lands away if we draw too many. We're playing 37 lands in here. We're also playing the whole cycle of the canopy lands, meaning we're able to sacrifice them and draw a card for them. And additionally, we're playing a whole bunch of man lands. The main reason for the man land inclusion is their creature type, and also being able to do something with our mana. If we don't have anything else to do, we can turn one of our lands into a creature. Maybe we have enough mana to turn a second one. And these will also gain boosts from several of our companions. So I tried to only include creatures with the respective type that is also boosted by our companions. Then we're playing Blast Zone. Since we're playing 3 mana and above, we are able to blast any permanents for 1 and 2 for free, meaning that we're not losing anything, but obviously we could stack up more counters and also wipe the board of anything that is above that. And having 1 mana that only creates colorless is not too backbreaking. Speaking of colorless mana, we're playing Kessig Wolfrun, which also only creates colorless mana, but enables us to go for a kill if we want to by paying X and a red and green to give a creature +X/+O and trample. Volraths Stronghold can save any creatures that died throughout the game. Our commander is able to reanimate elementals from our graveyard, but none of the other types. And this is where Volraths Stronghold is coming in handy. Our last colorless producing mana is Contested Cliffs. Since we're playing 22 beasts, for a red and a green we can choose any of our beasts and fight with any other creature on the battlefield. We're also playing Gaea's Cradle. Since we're playing a creature heavy deck, we're only playing creatures besides lands. So for our 63 creatures, why not include a Gaea's Cradle as well? Then we're playing a couple of multicolor lands, the usual Command Tower is also in there, obviously. We're also playing Path of Ancestry, and we're able to really utilize Ancient Ziggurat here, since we're only playing creatures in our deck. And this concludes our 6 Companions Commander deck. If you enjoyed this deck idea and found it unique, do consider clicking the subscribe button. We're only 47 subscribers away from reaching 500 subscribers. Leave your suggestions and concerns in the comments below. Looking forward to reading you all. Boop that left hand button, and on your right hand you find a personally picked out video by the YouTube algorithm gods. Hope to see you there. A wonderful day to you, and bye bye.